Welcome everybody to our latest Norland Unwrapped, all about admissions tonight. It's great to see you, and we will make a start very shortly. We're just waiting till everybody's in. Welcome to those of you who are just joining us. We will be starting very shortly on our Norland Unwrapped tonight, all about admissions. Dan, perhaps if you can let us know when everybody's in, and then we can make a start.
Yep, I think the numbers kind of steadied, so I think we're good to go, Mandy.
All right, thank you very much. Well, welcome everybody. It's our pleasure to welcome you here to our Norland Unwrapped session. You'll see me keep looking over to my left here, but that's because I am my screen, the presentation is just over here. So I apologize if it looks as if I'm not looking at you, because I am trying to look at you. My name is Mandy Edmond, and everybody is going to introduce themselves very shortly, but I'm first of all going to hand over to Kate, who's going to tell you a bit about what's going to happen today. Over to you, Kate.
Thanks, Mandy. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another session of Norland Unwrapped. Lovely that you can join us on this very wet and stormy evening. I hope it's not too bad where you are. So, as Mandy said, this is our admissions Q&A. It's our first virtual session of the new academic year. So thank you very much for joining us. Just some housekeeping information as we do at the beginning of every session that we have. So note that this session is going to be recorded. So if you need to nip off at any point, you can obviously access it afterwards. Your camera is off, so we can't see you, and your microphone is also muted as well, so we can't hear you either, but hopefully you can hear us. There will be a question and answer session at the end of the presentation, and we'll try and get through as many questions as possible. So as normal, pop them in the box at the bottom. If I can ask that if you do have specific questions about specific courses, or whether they carry enough UCAS points, or you just want further information, can I ask you to email the admissions department rather than ask the question, because they'll be able to give you a bit more detailed information about your question. So if you can obviously add your questions into the Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom screen. This session is really designed to obviously talk about the admission process at the very beginning, but also it's designed to extend between the physical open days and obviously the virtual session. So it goes lots and lots of information about Norland, how our admission process works. So do ask lots and lots of questions this evening. And as I said, we'll try and get through as many as possible. So a very warm welcome to you from anywhere in the world that you possibly are. And I will hand you over to Mandy to start the presentation, and I will see you at the end.
Thank you very much, Kate. So there's me on the screen in much sunnier times than we have got right now. I hope you're all the hatches are battened down, or whatever you say, because of the storm coming in. I'm the Vice Principal and Head of Quality and Standards and Registrar at Norland College. I've been here for about 11 years now. And in my team, I have admissions and student support and international students, quality team. You can see on the screen all the things all the different areas that are in my department. So I'm here to hopefully answer any questions about any of those things, but there's quite a few of my people, if you like, my team here today as well to also talk to you. One of the biggest roles that I take, and which is why I'm here, is helping supporting the admissions managers to make the decisions about who we offer places to. So we'll more about that later. I'm just going to hand you over to Rebecca Tidman. Rebecca.
Hello, as you can see, I'm Rebecca Tidman. I'm the admissions manager here. I job share with Sue Murphy, who's also on the screen there, but she isn't with us on this live session today. And as you can see, I've worked at Norland for 13 years and in the admissions department for 9. So I hope that I know what I'm talking about.
Hi all, my name's Coral Clark, and I am the Accommodation and Welfare Officer, so I do have a bit of a split role. I have joined Norland 2.5 months ago, so I'm new myself. My background before joining Norland is working for the police as an investigator. I've worked in the probation service, specialising in working with domestic abuse perpetrators, and then I went on to be a manager for a domestic abuse and sexual violence charity.
Sorry, everybody. I'm in charge of the presentation. As you can see, I'm not doing a very, very good job. I do apologise. However, I think I'm back sorted now. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of a background about Norland. Anyone who's coming to the presentations, to the open days, will tell you more about this when you come along. But just as a bit of context for you, you can see here some outstanding results that we've had from our National Student Survey. So the National Student Survey is a survey that's done every single year by all final year undergraduates in the whole country. And they all answer the same set of questions. It's set by a government agency. And then we are informed about what our students think about us. And as you can see, that we had some amazing results this year, which we generally do have every year. But our students are really satisfied with their experience at Norland. You can see that they really enjoy getting their feedback on their assessments on time, that they're 95% very satisfied with the resources that we offer. And very importantly, that they, 95% agree that the course develops skills and knowledge that they will need in the future. Now, most people who come to Norland want to be Norland nannies, or certainly know that they want to work with young children and their families. And we are all focused. The courses that we offer are all focused on that. So that means that we have very satisfied students and we're preparing them very well for their future careers. Also last year, well, over the last couple of years, we've won quite a number of awards, and you can see some of them up there. We're very proud of them. We're very proud of the Graduate Outcomes Award that we won a couple of years ago, which was actually voted for by students from other universities. And they voted Norland, tiny little Norland in Bath, to be much better than every other institution in the UK in terms of supporting students to go on to get good, well-paid jobs. More of that when you come to open day, hopefully. You can explore lots of that about that on the website too. And I think we may have another Unwrapped about that later as well, later on in the year. We also last year, for the third time, won the What Uni Student Choice Award for Best Independent Small Specialist Provider. And that again was voted for by our own students, and the What Uni take a look at all the reviews and make a judgment on who has got the best reviews, and guess what, we had them. So you can be assured that coming to Norland, you're going to get an experience that is award winning and that you will highly value. I'm now going to let you hear from a real life student who's going to hopefully back up all the things I've just said. Over to you, Laura.
Anyway, hi, my name's Laura. I currently have just started my second year at Norland. I was born in Essex and was raised there, and I grew up with my mum, dad, two little brothers, little sister, and various cats. So as I was growing up, I always wanted to work with children. I just had no idea in what way. I've been a member of the scouting community since I was 7, and the second I was able to, I became a young leader, and once I turned 18, I turned that into a leader qualification for a Beavers section. So my approach to Norland was that I took a 2-year BTEC in children's play, learning and development, and I chose this course because I thought that it would echo what Norland provides and allow me to get good practice for what I was going to hopefully study and learn when I came here. I first found out about Norland from a family friend. She knew a previous student who's now graduated, and she mentioned it to me. I watched one of the documentaries that have been done on Norland, and that was it. I was hooked. So Norland is located in Bath, which is a beautiful city and incredible for students. There's always something going on, always something to see, and I've never regretted my choice to come here, and I very much doubt you would either. So my application to Norland was, I heard about Norland, obviously, and I explored further into Norland and what they provided, and then I applied via UCAS. So once I had applied, I heard from Norland shortly after, and they invited me to attend an interview. So they had a little task that you have to do when you go to an interview, and mine was bring an object and tell us how it promotes children's communication and language. So I brought a little music box. So I arrived on the day and met up with some other potential students and gave my interview, and then I went home. And a few weeks later, I got my offer from Norland. So a couple of months later, after on results day, I received my results and accepted my offer. And shortly afterwards, I heard from Norland again with further instructions on what to do next. So my time at Norland so far has been very action-packed. So in your first year, you'll do sewing, food and nutrition, placements and lectures. So during my first year, I was able to learn how to use a sewing machine. We made bunting, and I made an apron, which you can see in the top corner of the slide. So food and nutrition, you make loads and loads of different recipes, from basic banana pancakes to frittatas and chicken goujons. And you get a number of placements over the year at Norland. In your first year, you'll do two main placements, and then two taster placements, which are 3 weeks, whereas the normal placements are 4 weeks. So I was able to experience a preschool setting, a year 1 setting, a nursery toddler room, and a nursery baby room. So onto lectures and assignments. During my first year, I had 8 assignments due, which is not including placement paperwork, sewing submission, food and nutrition, and holistic assessments, which you will do with other people or independently. So with assignments, you get loads and loads of support, and it's a very balanced workload. They spread it out evenly across the year, and you never feel too stressed or too pressured. And if you do, by any chance, there's people you can talk to about getting support. I'm now going to pass on to Emma, who is also a second year student, and she's going to tell you a bit more about her experience.
Thanks, Laura. Thanks for sharing about your experience. That was great. So I'm Emma. I'm part of set 46, and I am a bit older than the rest of my set. I'm 24, graduated American high school in 2017. You can kind of see here in my background, I was an au pair in Paris for a few years outside of that. I've always loved childcare. I've always been drawn to working with children. I'm the third of 6 children, so it was very much always an option for me, and I really adored it. And out of childcare during the pandemic, teaching nurseries, all those sorts of things, and I really loved it, but I really wanted to focus on being a nanny and being with one family and with those children and being able to see their progression day to day, week to week, what was happening. But in that, I saw that I didn't quite have the skills that I wanted. I wanted to get more skills, and I'd heard about Norland years ago from a documentary, of course, and I decided to apply in 2021, and I applied via UCAS, which was an entirely new system to me. and everyone was so welcoming when I said, like, I don't know what I'm doing. I sent lots of emails, and they said, oh, just apply. We'd love to get to know you. We'd love to help. And it was lovely. I had my interview online because I lived very far away. And then I got my conditional offer a couple weeks later, applied for my visa, and came to join Norland with Step 46. And that was actually in 2022, not 2023. Next slide, please, Mandy. Norland's been great so far. I'm a second year, but I remember welcome week like it was yesterday. It was a lot of fun. It was very overwhelming though, and it can be difficult, especially being so far away from home. I did get quite homesick, even though it's not the first time I've lived away from home. But I was so grateful for the student support, which you can actually see in that picture. We have an incredible student support team at Norland, and they were incredibly helpful. You know, when you just are having a down day and you're feeling off, you can go straight upstairs. They'll help sort you out. They'll help put you right. And it's an incredible resource that Norland has that I can't imagine even seeing in an American higher education institution. I'm a mature student, and I was really worried that there wouldn't be any other people my age, any other students my age, that I would be the only one and no one would want to talk to me. But that is not the case. I'm not even the oldest student in my set. There are many, many other students in my set that are my age or older or in different stages of life. And it's really wonderful to see. And we're all really close now. No matter, age doesn't really matter or seem to matter all that much. Yeah, and I've received a lot of really great working opportunities from Norland. I was able to work abroad over the summer, and it was really wonderful. Next slide, please. Bath is absolutely wonderful. It's an incredible historic city. I never dreamed I would be able to live somewhere so beautiful, so, I mean, just steeped in history. You walk down the street and there are plaques everywhere saying, one person lived here of note. And I can't imagine anything like that in the States. So being able to come to England and just feel like I fit right into this incredible city is really, really lovely. There's so many students, so many events. There was the Great Bath Feast last weekend, which was so fun. Lots of food stalls, and yeah, it's incredible. And it's super well connected with Bristol not too far, and London only about an hour and a half away. So very easy to get around. And I think that's it. I'll turn back over to Mandy.
Thank you, Emma, and thank you, Laura, two of our lovely second year students, just giving you a little bit of an insight into their own experiences. Every student has a different experience and has a different journey to come to Norland, but wherever you're from and whatever you've had, whatever experiences you had before, we're here to help and we're here to support. So when you get here, I'm going to do this quite briefly because much more information about this at Open Day, and we're hoping to see most of you at Open Day. But you'll be studying for our brand new BA Hons in Early Childhood Education and Care. I have to keep reminding myself what it's called. It's just been validated and approved for delivery from this September. So we're just rolling it out now for the very first year. And it's a fully updated degree, which completely prepares you with the skills and knowledge that you'll need in order to work for today's modern families and meet the requirements of those families. It is degree study, so I just do need to just kind of emphasize to you that when you investigate Norland, you'll see loads of amazing information about the great jobs that you'll get and the great salaries that you'll earn and the places all over the world that you can visit, and the lovely community and all the practical things that you'll learn. Don't forget you'll be studying for a degree. And studying for a degree is hard work. So you have to be prepared to work hard. In fact, you have to be prepared to work harder than other graduates, because whereas they're going off somewhere to do one course, a degree, you actually will be coming along to do two courses. You'll be doing your degree and your Norland diploma. So your timetables will be busy. Your lives will be busy. You'll have lots of assessments. but there are huge rewards at the end of it in terms of worldwide travel and demand. The demand for Norland nannies, last year we were up to 10 jobs for every Norland nanny that's looking for a job in our agency, and that doesn't count all the jobs that are in other agencies as well. So you're in huge demand, and that's why you earn very, very good salaries. But when you come along to Open Day, you'll hear more about that. Today we're just focusing on the admissions. So you'll study for three years full time in Bath. And those 3 years, each of those years is divided into 3 different trimesters. And each trimester is a mixture of study in on campus and placement work. As Laura mentioned, 4 weeks, mostly 4 weeks in placement. In fact, at the end of your second year, you have 6 weeks in placement. So you'll get a lot of opportunities to work in different contexts with young children and their families. And then in your third and final year, just as you would expect on other undergraduate courses, you will complete a dissertation, which we call the work-based project, and we'll support you to find out what you're interested in investigating further, and we'll support you to gather that data and analyse it. We also have, at the end of that third year, we have this period of time, 8 weeks, where we focus on your employment skills. So you do lots of exciting things, and these are the clips you often see in the documentaries, and on the BBC sometimes do it as well, where you're learning to control a car around the skid pan at Castle Combe racetrack, or where you're being taught security and cybersecurity from former military intelligence officers. You do all of those things. You do baby massage. You learn how to use an AGA. You learn interview skills. So you do forest school, lots of really exciting experiences, but also really practical experiences that will put you ahead of the game when it comes to looking for the very best jobs. And what we cover in those 8 weeks, actually, I should just say, is based on feedback from families. So we speak to families, find out what they want you to know about, and then provide that for you. So you are going to be meeting the needs of the families that you'll be interviewing with. As I said, alongside the degree, you will be studying for the Norland diploma, and that's all the practical skills. So you will learn to cook, you will learn to sew, you will learn how to play, you will learn how to set up play experiences and how to support children through those play experiences. You'll have the employment training that we've already talked about. You'll learn how to change nappies, how to settle children down to sleep, how to support their emotions so that they behave in a socially acceptable way. You will, at the end of the 3 years, when you have completed your degree, you haven't yet completed your diploma, because there is a 4th year. The 4th year we call our newly qualified nanny year, and you have to successfully complete the NQN year, we call it for short, the NQN year, in order to achieve your Norland diploma. Now, that doesn't mean you're paying fees for 4 years. You just pay fees for the 3 years that you're working on campus. In that NQN year, you are in a full-time paid position. So you are not paying fees. In fact, you are being paid as a newly qualified nanny, and we are still there to support you. We will still be visiting you. We will still be answering your queries and questions. We will still be assessing you as well. And when you get to the end of that year, that's when you achieve your Norland diploma. So I'm going to hand over to Becca now, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about the admissions process.
Hi, so the admissions team, how do we help you? So we are with you right from the early stages, from inquiries about entry requirements and your qualifications and things like that. We manage your applications, arrange the interviews for you, right through to enrolment. So leading up to enrolment, we will contact you about the forms. We respond to your queries about uniform, pre-course preparation and things like that. We also process your first year DBS application, and we're there to sort of help and guide you through that process as well. So basically anything you need from inquiry stage right up to enrolment, we're here to help you every step of the way. And if we don't know the answer, then we can find that out for you. So there's no question too big. We're here to help.
Okay, so with accommodation, Norland does not have its own hall of residence, but you will be given the opportunity to request, we arrange your first year accommodation, and we work very closely with some trusted landlords that we've used for several years, and we would have already vetted the properties for you. Most of our students live in shared accommodation with other students within the Bath area, and our properties that we work with the landlords in terms of how close it is to Norland can range from 5-minute walk to perhaps 30 minutes. If it is a little further away, we do ensure that it's close to a bus route for you. The properties can vary in size, so we could have a 3-bedroom property up to a 9-bedroom property. And you can also ask for any requests. So you may want to be as close to Norland as possible. And for others, we have had requests that they are in the centre of Bath as well. So it's easy for if they want to gain employment as well on the side. We will look at those requests, but we can't always guarantee it, but we will always try our best to meet those requests as well. In terms of the costs for the accommodation, this year rent has been between £550 and £650, but for the year 2024 to 2025, those costs still need to be reviewed and to be confirmed. I will hand over to Mandy now.
Thank you very much, Coral. I always get the best jobs, and one of these jobs today is to tell you about the fees. So apologies in advance, but we are a private institution and therefore there are fees to pay above what you would pay in another institution. But you're paying more for your experience at Norland, not because we're a private institution, but because you are doing 2 courses. You are doing your degree and your diploma alongside, and all the wonderful experiences that we give you and the high level of quality and the high staff to student ratio. You get a higher staff to student ratio at Norland than you do elsewhere. All of those things cost money, and that's why we have to charge the fees that we do. But we are not for profit. So we don't have a board of directors who get lots and lots of the dividend money, and we don't have shareholders that we pass lots of profit onto. Everything that you pay in your fees goes back into providing the experiences that you will experience while you're at Norland. So I just need to make that point. So here we have on the screen the costs for the 24-25 academic year. And you'll see that the costs are slightly higher for international students as well. And I'm just looking, and so the fees in brackets are the international student costs, okay? So you can see at the bottom the total annual cost, but you can see that we will accept those fees in various different ways. So the grid there shows you what the cost would be on a termly or a trimester breakdown. But you can also pay by instalments, by 9 or 10 instalments throughout the year through direct debit. So we'll give you more information about that if and when we offer you a place at Norland. Those are the fees just for 24-25. They are likely to go up. They generally do go up each year, but we do cap the amount that they can go up by. So we guarantee that they will not go up by more than 5%. Or by the consumer price index, whichever is higher. So there is a cap to what they go up. You won't come in with that fee and then suddenly find that the fees are going through the roof. And as we said, there are no tuition fees to pay in the newly qualified nanny year. You will actually be earning money in that final year. Some additional costs noted there on the slide as well. There is a uniform to pay to wear while you're here, which you obviously have to pay for. And that costs over the 3 years, probably around about £1,000. You have a choice now of uniform options. You can wear the trouser option or the dress option, and the prices will all be, you'll be told all about those once you get your offer. Coral's already told you about the accommodation. There's some sewing materials that you'll need to buy, which is around about £120 in total. And then you will also become members of the Professional Association of Norlanders. You become a student member for free, but once you graduate, you then start to pay the fee, £50 as a newly qualified nanny and £100 a year as a fully qualified Norlander. And membership of PAN is mandatory for those of you going studying at Norland. In terms of student finance, there's a bit of a double whammy here, really, because not only do you have to pay higher fees, but you also are only able to access a smaller loan from the government. So whereas most students can access £9,250 a year for their fees, which fully covers their fees, unfortunately, your fee loan is capped at £6,165, and in fact that's lower if you're from Northern Ireland. This is because the Office for Students will not allow us to register with them in the category that would allow you to access higher funding. So we are fighting it, and we've been fighting it for many years, but as it currently stands, UK-based students, you can access a fee loan, but it is lower. So you can see there the grid that will show you how much you will have to pay after the student loan. So it does take some of the cost off, but unfortunately not all of the cost. You can see on this slide also some more information about when you can apply for your student loans funding, and generally the student finance portal opens at the end of February, so that would be the time to get your applications into them, because that will guarantee that you have your funds in place, not just your fee loan but your maintenance loan for the start of the academic year. I should also point out that the maintenance loan that you achieve, that you can get from the student loans company, is the same as you can get anywhere else. So that bit of it is not capped. It's only the fee loan that is capped. Just a little bit about deadlines. Now there is a UCAS, it's a UCAS deadline of the 31st of January in 2024. Everybody that applies to Norland by the 31st of January 2024 is what we call, is in the bracket called equal consideration. So that means that anyone who applies up to 31st of January will have equal consideration amongst themselves. So whether you apply on the 15th of September or on the 31st of January, you will all have an equal chance to get a place at Norland. Having said that, we would encourage you to apply early, because it helps you with your planning to know where you're going, and it helps us with our planning too, to know how many places that we have available as we go through that period up to the 31st of January. After the 31st of January, if our course is full and we have all the applications that we need for 2024, we will close the course. Having said that, in the last few years, we haven't actually closed the course on the 31st of January. We have kept it open for a bit longer. So we can't predict really the number of applications that we get each year. All we do know is that the number of 18-year-olds in the UK is growing year on year. And so that translates usually into higher applications year on year too. And last year we did have the highest number of applications we've had for I don't know, 6 or 7 years. So interest is definitely growing, and my advice to you would be to get your application in as early as you possibly can. Once you've applied and you're offered a place, so we do start interviewing from October this year, so from next month actually we'll start interviewing. Once you have your offer, we will send you details of the bursaries that you can apply for. And you have on the screen there our details of our Emily Ward bursaries. Emily Ward is our founder back in 1892. We offer a limited number of £10,000 bursaries and a limited number of £5,000 bursaries, and they come off the amount that you would have to pay after your student loan. Those bursaries are means tested. So you will be asked to provide financial information, your own financial information and the financial information of your parents. And we will then make an assessment as to how many and who we can offer these bursaries to. We also have a number of £500 uniform bursaries, so bursaries to help with your uniform. And I should point out that any of the £10,000 or £5,000 bursaries that are offered, you will get the same amount each year of your study. So for the 3 years that you're paying fees, you don't have to reapply for those bursaries. Those bursaries are yours for the entire 3 years. The deadline for applying for bursaries is the 1st of April 2024, and you must have an offer in place in order to be able to apply for the bursary. It's very important, that little bit there in blue is very important to take on board though, because we do have a very limited pot for our bursary funds. It's very important that you have alternative plans in place for paying for your fees. So just applying for bursary does not mean you're going to get it. We have a lot of applications and we are not able to give bursaries to everybody that applies, even people who appear to be very worthy causes, because we have this finite pot that we can give out. So it's very important before you accept your place at Norland that you know that you are going to have the funds to be able to pay the fees, even if you don't get the bursary, or even if you get a smaller bursary that doesn't cover the full outstanding amount of fees. Right, on that grumpy note, I'm going to hand over to Claire, who will cheer you up, I'm sure.
Going to cheer you up with so much visa compliance information. It's thrilling stuff. Hello everyone, I'm Claire Hutton. I'm the Student Records Data and Visa Student Manager at Norland. And so prior to joining Norland, I worked at an English language school, and there I was the registrar, so I oversaw all the enrolments, and I was also responsible for their student visa license, which I'll talk a little bit more about my role at Norland. Next slide, please. So just some background information about our international student journey at Norland. So basically, when Brexit happened, the rules for studying in the UK changed quite dramatically. Basically, the rules meant that if you wanted to come into the UK from outside the UK to study, you would need a visa to do so. The type of course we run at Norland meant that you would need specifically a student visa. And you could only get a student visa if you applied at an institution which had a student visa license. Norland was granted its visa license in April 2021. So the great news is we can now recruit students from all over the world, which is wonderful. And it's the first time in Norland's history we've been able to do that. So part of my role at Norland is just making sure that we keep that license going, that we obey the rules of UK visas and immigration, and we make sure we keep all our ducks in a row so that we can keep recruiting international students. But most importantly, I am here to help visa students because we do appreciate you have a lot of extra paperwork to do if you're coming to Norland and you need a visa to do so. So that's why I am here to support you with that process. So next slide, please. So just some kind of headline facts to bear in mind if you are someone who would need a visa to join us at Norland. There are some things you should keep in mind. The first and most important thing is that you need to make sure that Norland is right for you, and we need to make sure that you're right for Norland. So admissions are going to be your first port of call. If you don't have UK qualifications, that's not a problem. As we mentioned briefly earlier, if you're not sure what qualifications you have, email our admissions team and say, I have this, and they will tell you whether or not they are equivalent with what we need so you can consider joining us. One extra qualification you will need if English is not your first language is a CELT, which is the Secure English Language Test. The type of test we accept is the IELTS for UK academic skills. But again, if you get to that point that you are doing a visa application, I will be in touch with you to make sure you do have that correct test in place. So that's something we'll talk about. But that's, again, something to bear in mind that you might need to think about. For your NQN year, as we talked about earlier, your newly qualified nanny year, where you'll be working, you will need a different visa. So your student visa will cover you during your 3 years studying the BA and for the diploma. But when you're working in the NQN year, you will need a graduate visa. That enables you to live and work in the UK for 2 years, but it does mean you have to do another visa application, I'm afraid. But you will be here, and I will be here to help you with that. So you don't need to worry about that just now. But again, something to bear in mind is you will have to do another visa application whilst you're here. So next slide, please. So Something very important to bear in mind is, as I mentioned previously, we are quite a new visa sponsor. We only got our license in April 2021, which means for 4 years we are kind of under probation with UK Visas and Immigration. They need to make sure that we're being a responsible sponsor, which of course we are. And if we pass that probation period, then we'll be granted our full license. Until that point, though, there are unfortunately some restrictions on some of the things that our students with visas can do. One of them is working. So currently, if you're planning on joining us in September 2024, for example, you would not be able to work in the UK with your student visa. You can, as Emma mentioned briefly earlier, you can work outside of the UK or in your home country, but whilst you're here with a student visa, you can't work in the UK, I'm afraid, and that does include voluntary work. Again, once we are hopefully granted our full license in September 2025, that will change and you will be able to work in the UK. But up until that point, this is something you really need to think about. If you think you will need to work to support yourself during your studies and you need a visa, you will not be able to do that until September 2025. Part of this is there is a restriction on work placements. So you usually spend around 40% of your total time in Norland at a work placement setting. With these current restrictions, you can only spend up to 33% of your time in a work placement setting. So we have made some really careful adaptations to the course to make sure you are still getting everything you need out of your work placement experience, but also so that you're staying within that limit. So you can just see there the adaptations we'll make. But again, we'll give you more information and guide you through that process if that's something you'll need to do if you're a student visa holder. There are also, unfortunately, additional costs for you to bear in mind. There's the visa application fee, which you can see there. And there's also the immigration health surcharge. Now that allows you to use the NHS while you're here in the UK, the National Health Service, as a UK resident would, so as I would. So it does represent quite good value for money, I think. It's currently £470 per year, and you would have to pay that for each year you're with us, so for that 3 years. When you have your graduate visa, which you need for your NQN year, if you remember, you'll have to pay for that visa fee as well, which is currently £715, plus the immigration health care surcharge for that, which is a little bit more because of course you're working and earning money during that time. So that's £624 per year for that. So I've also just included at the bottom some really useful and verified student visa information sources there, which are always, if you do have any further questions, of course, come and ask me. I'm your first port of call, but those are also really good resources too. Okay, I think that's everything from me. So I'm going to hand over to Rebecca again.
Hello. So applying to Norland and entry requirements, you'll need 96 UCAS points from a level 3 qualification, along with 5 GCSEs, which should include English and maths. If you're applying as an international student, as Claire previously mentioned, if you just email the admissions department with your qualification, and we can double check that that is equivalent to the English, the UK qualifications that we require. Also, as Claire mentioned, if English is an additional language, you will need to do the IELTS academic test. But again, if you've got any questions about this or you're not sure, just drop us an email and we are more than happy to answer your questions. All of our applications have to come through UCAS, and there's the details of our institution code and our course code on the screen. So you'll need to input those when you do your application. Your invitation to interview is sent to you via UCAS, but we also send you a lot more information in a direct email so that you know exactly what to expect and where to come and things like that. When we make your offers, they also come through UCAS. So I think it's called Track when you submit your application to us, and you'll have all the information through there. But again, if you have any questions along the way, you just need to email admissions. The email address is up there on the screen, and we will answer and help you every step of the way. Thank you. I think that's the end of the slideshow, if you want to go.
I think it's back over to me with lots of questions, and we have had lots of questions, which is great. Thank you so much, everybody, for the overview, and thank you, obviously, for all your questions that have come in. So I'm going to make a start straight away because we do have lots to get through. Talking with regards to actually with you mentioned about interviews, etc. We have got some questions about personal statements. basically, can they have an additional personal statement? What information needs to be on the personal statement? What's going to make them stand out on their personal statement? So I wondered if perhaps you can touch on the actual process involved, and then maybe Emma and Laura might be able to include some top tips about what they wrote on their personal statement, perhaps.
So shall I start with that one?
Yeah,
Beth,
absolutely.
chip in if I forget anything. What we're really looking for in your personal statement is, it's not about how much you know about young children's learning and development, because that's all the stuff we're going to teach you. It's great if you've got some understanding of it, but it doesn't matter if you haven't got a lot of understanding, because we're going to teach you that as part of the course. What we need to see in your statement are the things that we can't teach you. So how much do you want to work with young children? Why do you want to work with young children? What is it about it that you love so much? We want to see that passion and that enthusiasm, because it is a hard course and we need to know that you are committed to it, that this is the only thing you want to do. Why do you want to work with young children, and why do you want to come to Norland? Now, we do know, Becca mentioned this earlier, but we do know that, you know, it's difficult for you to write a personal statement if you're specifically to Norland, if you are applying for different institutions. You may want to only come to Norland, but you might be under some pressure to put some other institutions down as well. And that's absolutely fine. What you can do in those circumstances is write your personal statement, which is more generic, but you can then send us a personal statement just for Norland to the admissions team, and we'll make sure that whoever is interviewing you gets to see your 2 personal statements. Okay, so it's all about passion, enthusiasm. Why do you want to work with young children, and why Norland? What do you want? What do you see yourself doing at the end of your course?
Great. Anybody else answer that?
Quickly add into that you know, we like to interview all of our applicants, so think of this as like the first step, and your interviewer would have read your personal statement, so think about things that you might want them to know in advance, or things that you would want to discuss, and things that you've done in addition that you think would be beneficial to your application. You know, things that you like, if you've worked with children, if you've done things like brownies, or, you know, coached children swimming or anything like that, you know, things like that are also really, really good to involve in your personal statement. I don't know if any of the students want to add in anything that they might have put in that they found useful.
Yeah, just basically show off in it. Make yourself brag, basically. Anything that you've done that you're proud of, that you feel, hey, that's something that I feel I can use in the future. That's something that I might be able to do with children. Put it in there. They want to know, and nothing's too much, basically.
Anything from Emma?
Sorry, tried
okay.
to unmute myself. I was just saying, it might feel a bit like gushy, you know, talking about children. Sometimes you can feel like you're just speaking too much about like personal things. That could be a bit scary, but everyone in Norland understands. We work with children all the time, and we get it. So, you know, if you want to gush a little bit about the fabulous things that you love about working with children, I think that's okay. It's appropriate.
Great, thank you. We've got a question about the diploma and the degree. So is there an option just to take the diploma or the degree, because the person who's asked the question has already got a BA honours? So can they do the diploma without having to do the degree?
No, I'm afraid you can't. The courses are fully integrated, and what we do have is a process called accreditation of prior learning. So we can look at the degree that you already have and see how much of the learning outcomes that you've covered on the degree that you have are also covered in our degree. We would also look at how current your degree is that you have already, but you couldn't just bring your whole degree into our degree. So there's a limit on the number of credits that you can pull over from an existing degree. It's a little bit complicated. So what I would suggest you do is email into admissions and give us as much detail as you can, and we'll get in touch with you and talk about your specific circumstances then.
Thank you, Mandy. We've got a few questions about accommodation, and I know we've touched on this anyway, but I just wanted to kind of reiterate. So what the accommodation was like, are there any en suites? This is a very relevant question. And can you actually request to share with fewer people? For example, this specific person is autistic and would prefer calmer environments and calmer settings. So is there kind of a way to choose exactly where you want to stay? And can you give a bit more information if that's possible?
Yeah, so you wouldn't be able to view the properties prior to coming to Norland. However, you will be sent a accommodation request form, and on there you can select whether you would like to live in a lively environment or in a quieter setting in terms of households. So then we can kind of group people that are like-minded. So those that want to live in a quieter household are hopefully, you know, put together, and those that want to have a more lively environment are put together. You can also request that you don't mind, because you may not know. We do have a limited amount of properties with en suites. So there is a box that you can write in on the request form for any additional requests. So this is where you might put would have preference to an en suite, perhaps parking, although it's very, very, very limited in Bath now. So you can add those onto those requests. And again, we may not be able to meet all of those needs, but we try our absolute best. And I have to say, this year, I think we did meet every single student's requests, which was a really positive outcome.
Sorry, Coral, I think it's also worth mentioning that if you have specific needs for specific reasons, for example, a medical condition that means that you have particular needs, we will do our absolute utmost to meet those needs for you. So we will make any reasonable adjustments that we possibly can. But as Coral said, we're limited by the facilities that our landlords are able to offer. So we will discuss that with you on a one-to-one basis when we get to that point. But please be assured that we'll do whatever we can to meet your needs.
Thank you, Mandy. I'm going to link a couple of questions together because I think they all lead into the same kind of conversation. So we've got someone who's looking to take a gap year after year 13. Can they get a deferred place, or will they need to apply the next year? And that also leads into another question about how many applications. I know you mentioned earlier on, Mandy, that we've had a large number last year, about how many applications we get and how many candidates get places. So it's kind of a general conversation about applications, really.
I'll let Becca answer those.
Sorry, I got sidetracked by the second part. What was the first part of the question?
The first question was about applications, how many applications you get in a year.
Yeah, so I'd say roughly we have between 150 to 200 applications on average, and we offer around, well, we end up enrolling around about 100 students. But that said, I think that if you apply to Norland and you're really passionate about working with children and you really want to be here, I see no reason as to why you wouldn't get in. So I wouldn't be put off thinking, oh, you know, that's 2 applications per place. You know, it does just work itself out, and I think if you're the right applicant, then there's no reason why you wouldn't be offered a place here. So you know, come and shine and tell us why you're so wonderful and why you deserve a place here. If you want to defer, that is absolutely fine. And you know, we would, you know, in some ways it's actually better to apply and then defer your place, because you've got your offer sort of, and that's secure for you, and then you can go off and do your gap year, and you know that the following year you've got your place secure in Norland, and that's just for you.
Yeah, when you actually make your application through UCAS, you can choose to apply for a place for 2024 or 2025. So you can make that is an option, and we don't discriminate against anybody that might apply for a deferred place. So go ahead and as Becca said, you'll have that security when on your gap year that you've got your place all ready for September.
Great, thank you very much. Claire, this is for you. Is there a cap on the number of international students that we can admit every year?
There is, because as a sponsored license, we get a certain number of, they're called CASs, Confirmation of Acceptance for Studies. And these are basically codes that we issue you as an international student that if you've gone through the admissions process and we've said, okay, you can join us. So when you apply for your visa, you have to use one of these codes, and we only get a certain number per year. At the moment, we have 10, maximum 10 spaces per year.
Lovely, thank you very much. We've got a lot of questions about the interview process, so I wondered if I don't know who wants to take this on board. So basically the whole interview process, we can just reiterate how that will be, as in rough timeline from application through to interview to offer of a place, and then when it comes to obviously applying to bursary. So if you could just kind of reiterate how that works and how that and what's involved in the interview process as well, that would be really helpful.
Okay, when you apply, we'll respond fairly quickly with a date for your interview, and that could be, you know, a few weeks up to a month or so. It depends how many applications we've had at that time. We have interview dates that are set throughout the year, and we invite a number of students or applicants, sorry, on that day for interview. So once that day is full up, we then will start interviewing for the next date. The interview process is made up of 2 parts. So you will have a one-to-one interview, and then there'll also be a presentation task. But it's very informal. Please don't be freaked out by the idea of a presentation task. It's more like a small group discussion, and we will email you what that will be based around. Once you've had your interview, we do like to let applicants know as soon as possible if they've been accepted. But as Mandy said earlier on, the equal consideration deadline is the 31st of January, which means everybody who has applied up to that point is to be given equal consideration. So although we will start making offers throughout the period leading up to that, we can't fill the course because we need to be able to leave spaces for everybody who's applied. So some people will find out sooner than others, and we do say, please don't worry too much if you haven't heard from us straight away. It doesn't mean that you haven't been successful. It just means that we're slowly making our way through, and we will let you know as soon as possible. I know that's very vague, but I'm afraid that is that's just the way it is.
We just can't predict how many applications we're going to have and at what stage in the cycle that we're going to have them. So we have to make sure. And if we do end up with a lot of applications up until the 31st of January, it can sometimes take up until March to actually get all of those people interviewed, because we interview everybody who's predicted to meet the entry requirements. So that's why it takes so long. But we, as Becca said, don't think no news is bad news, because no news is actually good news, because it means that we haven't rejected you. It means that we are holding on to you and waiting and just waiting until we've managed to get through all of the interviews and then making our decisions.
Lovely, thank you for that. I think that will put people's mind at rest, which is good. Are there any age restrictions or requirements at application stage?
Sorry.
Go on, Becca. There you go.
So you have to be 18 to start at Norland. We're at university level, so I think most applicants coming through to us will be of that age at least, but there is no upper age limit at all. As Emma said, in her year there are quite a few mature students, similar age and much older, so that's, it's never too late to study what you love. So don't let that put you off.
And I would say the only other requirements really are that you are 100% committed to a career working with young children, And then, of course, for visa students, there are a number of other requirements because you have to be able to be eligible for your student visa. And we'll tell you more about that as and when you make contact with us. And then I suppose the other thing that you need to bear in mind is you have to be physically and mentally well enough to work with young children. It's a very demanding job. It's a very demanding course. And you will be using your mind and your body a lot, and you'll be under stress a lot. You know, there are deadlines, and so you have to make sure that you have the resilience, physically and emotional resilience to be able to get through that course. And then finally, you have to have a clear DBS, which is the Disclosure and Barring Service. So that means that you don't have any criminal convictions that would disbar you from working with young children.
Lovely, thank you very much. Just another quick question about a deferral. Is it possible to defer for 2 years in order to save up?
No, you can defer for 1 year, and then if at the end of the end of that year you thought I want to defer again, it does mean that you would have to submit another application to us. The good thing is you have been accepted once, so you know that puts you in a good position to be successful a second time.
Lovely. Are there any preferences on A levels or the type of course that you're doing? Obviously, maintaining and making sure you reach the UCAS points. Is there any specific A levels that you would look out for, or that Norland requires you to do?
Becca and I are fighting over the answers.
Questions for you too.
So no, I think the advice is do courses that you're going to do well in, because you have to meet those 96 UCAS points. It doesn't matter to us whether you do art and English or chemistry and graphic design. What we're looking for is that you are able to study at that level and that you're able to get your 96 UCAS points. So my strongest advice, and I'm sure Becca's strongest advice as well, is pick the subjects that you're going to do well and you're going to enjoy, because if you enjoy them, you're more likely to do well in them.
Absolutely. I'm going to carry on for a couple more moments, if that's okay, because we do have some more questions. So I hope everybody can stick with us. I'm going to bring in Emma and Laura now, because we've had a couple of questions about what a typical day is as a Norland student. So as you're both in second years, perhaps you could give us your opinion and what you've been doing on a day-to-day basis. So it just shows, you know, what students are doing at Norland and it gives a bit more advice.
So yeah, a day-to-day life of a Norland student is quite busy, but then also there are rest periods for it as well. So usually on a normal lecture day, lectures will start at 9:30 and they will run all the way through to 12 o'clock, and you'll get a 10-15 minute break in the middle of that to go get cups of tea. And then you get an hour for lunch. Usually in lectures, the second lecture of the day will start again at 1 o'clock, and it'll go all the way through till 3:30. And then you can go home, or if you've got a club that's happening after lectures, you can stay around till that. Norland kicks you out at 9:30. And you're welcome to stay there. The library is open until then, and on weekdays there's usually a staff member in there until then, and they're happy to help you find books, give you tips on assignments. For a practical day, Emma, did you want to explain practical days?
Yeah, so we have 2 lecture days a week and 2 practical days a week. During our practical days, we have 1 day where we do sewing and food nutrition all on the same day, all at one campus. And then the next day, oh, it's different now, isn't it? And then the next day you have some other lectures and just following up with your other practical subjects. So all in all, you have 2 days of the week for us, for our degree course, and then 2 days of the week for our diploma course. Which sometimes leaves a Friday available. A lot of the time they'll fill it with a guest lecture and, you know, keep us busy, but it's good.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And I know time is ticking on. So if we haven't covered your question, I'm sorry. We'll obviously update all our FAQs, or you can email the admissions team, etc. But Mandy, if I could just tell you stop sharing and go on to the next screen, that would be fantastic. Oh, there we go. Brilliant. So very, very quickly, just want to draw your attention to our Winner Weekend competition in Bath. This is our 3rd year of doing this competition. All the information is on our website. It's a lovely exclusive opportunity to spend a special weekend with us in Bath at one of our open days. It's you put up in a lovely hotel, I know because I book it, and you get afternoon tea at the pump rooms as well, and it's a really lovely way to find out whether Norland is for you and have a free weekend in Bath to boot as well. So it is open to anyone between the years of 10 and 13, or level 3 equivalents, or their international equivalents. It is very straightforward. We want you to obviously provide a response, what you think is the most important value to share with children and why. We don't mind how you enter the competition. Could be an essay, it could be a video compilation, little slideshow, anything really creative. But please do have a look at the information on the website. It's a really lovely competition. One of our winners from a previous year, Izzy, has done a wonderful vlog, which you can look on our social media, and it's definitely worth entering because you may win, which is really, really good. So next slide, please, Mandy. And this is just really to tell you all about our up and coming events. So the next event, and I hope people obviously from this evening will want to come to one of our open days. It really is the best way to find out all about Norland, because you'll get to meet wonderful staff, wonderful students, and have the experience of Norland. And it really is the best way to find out about us. But we do appreciate that sometimes that can be very difficult. So we do have a virtual open day as well in November. That's going to be on via Zoom. We're also, obviously, our Norland Unwrapped programme as well continues this year. We're going to have a fantastic lecture. This is the one we're really excited about. And this is going to be actually delivered by our principal, the Norland principal, Dr. Janet Rose, and she's going to tell you all about emotion coaching and self-regulation. We're going to also have a graduate Norlander as well, and how she applies that to her everyday job. So we're really excited about that. That's on the 9th of November. For all your questions about fees and finance, and I know that's a big chunk of the questions that were being asked tonight, that we're going to have another session of Norland Unwrapped, and we're going to have members of the finance team available, as well as hopefully some students talk about how they fund their studies, about budgeting, about how the tuition fees work and student loans, etc. So that should be a really good session for anyone that's considering Norland. And we're also going to have another up-to-date student life session carrying on from the one we had last year. So please do join us for all of those. The bookings for the open days are all live, so do please join us. We would love to see you in October. The next one will be in May, but that will go live after the November session. Please do have a look on our YouTube channel. There's lots and lots of videos and sessions that we've done previously, and you can also join our mailing list as well for the most up-to-date information. So please, if it's just sparked your interest and you want to find out more, do join us, and you'll be able to find out as much as you possibly can. So I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody taking part this evening. Thank you so much, all the staff and the wonderful students. And if you have any further questions, you're more than welcome to contact the admissions team, as I said. But we will see you again at the next Norland Unwrapped. And thank you so much for joining us this evening, and take care. Bye-bye.